All right, everybody. Good morning. This is Steve Crafts coming to you live from the barbecue department at Wannemaker's, the epicenter of grilling in the western suburbs of Chicago. And today, as you can tell, we are going to talk turkey with my good friend, Meathead Goldwyn, who knows a lot about cooking turkey and Thanksgiving, just grilling in general. He's wrote this great book. If anybody hasn't seen it, you can get this great book. And he also is the owner, publisher, whatever you want to say, of AmazingRibs.com, which is one of my favorite websites. It is as a grilling. You can find anything you need to know about grilling and products and everything. And then which is perfect timing. Just so you know, you can sign up for his emails. Not only, well, you can join his Pitmaster Club, which is really great, or you can sign up for his email, Smoke Signals. I got this one this morning, right before we got here. This is all Thanksgiving stuff. Look at this. You can click on all these things. Obviously, you can't click on this because it's paper, but you can click on this, all these different things to talk about turkey. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's bring in my good friend, Mr. Meathead. Meathead, how are you?
I'm great, Steve. You old turkey, you. You know, if I'd known you were going to do
like
that, I have that same exact turkey hat. We could have double teamed them.
Yeah, right. Did you like that little turkey hat?
That's very
thought
funny.
about that just for this show. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Got a bunch of different. We got a little bunch of hats. I thought it would be a fun show to start off with a little turkey.
Sure. I'm noticing that you're a little breaking up every now and then. Like we've lost a couple of words, and you look like you're kind of herky-jerky. So if you've got a setting or two, or tell the rest of the people in the store to get offline or whatever.
Well, let's try. Hold on a second. I'm going to disappear for a minute. I will come back. Let me see if I can get off the Wi-Fi really quick here. If I can find it really quick.
All right.
I don't know why for some reason.
Gone, let me tell you a few stories about Steve. And no, I well, he's taking care of the technical stuff. I thought we would have some fun talking about turkey today. There are a number of great ways to cook turkey outdoors, and the big reason to do it is, of course, it tastes great, but also it leaves room for pie indoors. So
am I back? Can you hear me okay? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, and I think you look a little better too.
Yeah, it's like the store's kind of, with all the metal and girders in the store, it kind of makes it for a rough presentation. Sometimes I think it makes me look a little better, sometimes a little lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, let's get it on.
All right, well, let's go through some of the people that are on here this morning. Here's a Facebook user that says, hello, Steve, happy birthday. Yes, today is my birthday.
Wow, how about that?
It is my official birthday. And as always, I always ask people, if you're going to sign in to StreamYard, please let them use your name, because this way we can be a little more personal at who we want to talk to instead of just saying hello to Facebook user. But
that's his name, Facebook user.
His name is Facebook user, right? And then we got Lynn from Smokehouse Cracker says, oh my God, you're killing me. I think she loves my video. She always was a good fan of the videos. We got Joe Clark.
I've never heard of Smokehouse Crackers.
Smokehouse Crackers are they're a small company in Alabama. We sell them here. We used to do the Cracker Challenge every single year. We used to do that with Smokey Dave's Smokehouse down in Roxborough, North Carolina. We used to do a Cracker Challenge. They're actually really good. They're a good cracker. She's got spicy now. She's got Parmesan garlic. She's got
nice.
I know the cinnamon ones just came out for the holidays. There's pizza, and I know I'm missing one, but there's a whole bunch of flavors. They're actually really good. We do stock them, and they're a great product. So if anybody's looking,
for our viewers who may not know, I just live about 5 miles from your store. I'm in Brookfield, Illinois. There are only 2 living barbecue Hall of Famers in Illinois, Sweet Baby Ray and me. And
Yep.
I live right down the road, and you are my local barbecue store. So next time I'm in there, remind me and load me up on some of those smokehouse
Those
crackers.
crackers.
You bet.
I bet you I will. Let's see. Then Joe Clark says Amazing Ribs is my go-to site.
Thank you, Joe.
And then our Facebook, let's see. He says it's Mike Lip. Well, Mike Lip is he's a gentleman that I volunteered with in Port Charlotte, Florida, last year for one of the hurricanes down there, and he is an awesome guy. He was down there for more than 2 weeks, like with me when we were down there volunteering, and he did the forklift and he loaded food, he made food, drove trucks, does just about everything. So
that's great.
Awesome.
Also, for viewers who are not familiar with this, you need to tell them that you are a steady supporter and of the Operation Barbecue Relief.
Wow, Meathead's getting, everybody's busy today. Meathead's busy. I'm busy. Roy's saying happy birthday to me again. Thank you, Roy. Smokehouse crackers, the barbecue. That was the flavor I was missing, was barbecue. Facebook user says, "What's up, Steve?" Joe Clark says, Mike's B-Day was yesterday. Mike Lip's birthday was, there's a lot of birthdays this week. So everybody who has a birthday this week and the next, obviously Valentine's Day was a very busy day at that, at that time of year. This Facebook user says nbbqa.org. So that must mean it may be my friend Mike D. So with that, we've gone through everybody. Mr. Meathead, let's talk a little Thanksgiving. It's coming up next week. Everybody's excited. I know I'm excited because I like to eat a lot of stuff. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. I will try and get those into Meathead as we are talking. What are your immediate thoughts on Thanksgiving? What comes to mind right up the top of your head?
You mentioned the newsletter we sent out this morning. I am sitting here and my email is in the background, and I'm getting slaughtered with people signing up. We are offering in this email a free ebook that I wrote with just about everything I know about turkey and Thanksgiving. It's all in one ebook. Now, a lot of that is from our website, but it's organized in a book format. And it's free if you sign up for our email newsletter. So if you go to amazingribs.com, sign up for the email newsletter, you should get an offer to get the free ebook of turkey. But in any case, well, let's start with cooking the bird. I really like the flavor of a very light smoke on turkey. You can go too heavy; it can start to taste like an ashtray. But it really, turkey meat, it's like peanut butter and jelly. Turkey and smoke just go together really well. And you can get smoke flavor even on an inexpensive gas grill or a charcoal grill. You don't have to have a smoker. Yeah, smokers help. But you can set up a gas grill or a charcoal grill in 2 zones, which is a basic core concept for all your outdoor grilling. Is you have a hot side with your coals all to one side or your burners on, and then a cool side or an indirect side with no burners on. And so you have temperature control. You can move the food from one side to the other, and that gives you temperature control. And cooking is all about temperature control. And if you're going to cook a turkey, the breast is very thick, so it takes a while for it to heat to a safe temperature. USDA says 165, but you can take it off at 155 to 160. It will go up in temperature a little bit, and it's perfectly safe at those temperatures. And if you start it on the indirect side with a little wood on the direct side, you'll get just the right amount of smoke. It won't be dark mahogany color. And I don't think you want it dark mahogany color. I think you want it pale golden or amber, but you need it crispy. You want that skin crispy. And the usual temp that we usually smoke at, 225, is not hot enough to render the fat in chicken or turkey. So I recommend 325. Get the temperature up to 325. If you don't have a good oven thermometer for your grill or your smoker, you should get one. Steve sells a bunch of them. They're not terribly expensive. Some of the least expensive ones are 30, $50 in that range. It has a probe that you can clip onto the cooking surface, onto the grate. You keep it, now you've got to keep it 2 or 3 inches away from the meat. The meat is cold, so it has a cold air bubble around it. If the probe is too close to the turkey, it'll be deceiving. You keep it at least 2 or 3 inches away from it on the indirect side, and you can now gauge your temperature. 325 to 375 is a good range for rendering fat, crisping the skin. Not hard to do. If you're not sure how to do that, you can practice on an empty grill. You don't have to have the turkey in there. You can fire up your grill, put the probe in there, and tweak the gas jets or how many coals you've got until you get, or the vents on a Weber kettle. You can close the vents, which starves the coals for oxygen, and that controls temperature, and you can get it in that 325 to 375 range. The other important tip is I don't think you should cook it whole, and I don't think you should stuff it. Let's start with stuffing. If you stuff the bird, you now have created a large thermal mass. It's very cold, comes out of the fridge, 38 degrees in that range in your fridge. And that stuffing has to be cooked all the way up to 155, 160 for it to be safe, because it's got turkey juices in it. And so you've got to kill all the bacteria that are there. And it's easy to do in that temperature range. So if you've stuffed it, it's going to take a lot longer to heat that stuffing. Whereas if you left the center empty, now warm air can enter the cavity, and it can cook it from the inside as well as the outside. It'll cook faster and be more juicy. Now that means don't go sticking oranges and apples and a whole bush of rosemary or thyme in there, like a lot of people like to do. You want airflow in there. I know everybody wants to serve that beautiful Norman Rockwell bird that looks just like in the painting, but it's not the most efficient way to cook it. A better technique is to do what they call spatchcocking, and that's just a kind of naughty sounding word for butterflying the bird. And what you do is you find the backbone, and the backbone's attached to the poke's nose, the little tail there, and you get a good sturdy pair of kitchen shears, and I'm sure you sell them there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have kitchen shears, go down into the basement and get your tin snips, clean them up real good, wipe them down with alcohol, and cut off that backbone right down the center. Now you can spread the bird out, and if you do, you can brown the interior. Now, if you cook a whole bird, even if you don't stuff it, the interior rarely browns. And you probably know brown is beautiful. Brown is flavor. Brown is the Maillard reaction. So you can also sprinkle your rub all over both sides. It gets really, it cooks a lot faster, and you've got a much more tender and juicy bird. Now, it doesn't look quite as cool as that Norman Rockwell bird, but a spatchcock bird can be kind of pushed back into a whole bird look. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's still a turkey. It's identifiable, especially if you serve it on a bed of rice or something like that, or on a nice platter. Everybody knows it's a great looking turkey. That's a great technique. Now, the other thing is your rub. Now, a lot of people go for the standard barbecue rubs, which are loaded with garlic and onion and paprika, and they're kind of rosy colored and pink. I come from a more traditional culinary background, and the French have always adorned their poultry with herbs. And we sell, and actually Steve sells my line of rubs and spices. I have 3 rubs and 1 spice, One sauce rather. And our poultry rub, you can see, is kind of green, and that's because it's mostly herbs. I think it really works well. If you like, you can lift up the skin and swab a little butter in there. Some people like to inject it. Now, I hear people saying, I inject my turkey with Dr. Pepper. And it's like, oh, geez, I mean, this is somebody who hates the taste of turkey, right? um,
Right.
but what you can do, and this is kind of cool, is you can butterball your turkey. You can inject it with melted butter. Now, if you try to do that while the bird is cold, the injector is going to freeze up. It's going to the butter is going to go solid, and you won't be able to inject it. So what you got to do is you got to put the bird on the cooker, cook it for a little while, and when the interior temperature gets up around 100 degrees, then the butter won't clog up the injector and it won't freeze up. So you can inject butter into the breast, which is very lean. There's hardly any fat in a turkey breast, and you can inject butter into it, and at about 100 degrees, and that's nice. But butter doesn't really block the natural flavor of turkey. Dark meat, it really doesn't need it. Dark meat has a little more fat, a little more myoglobin, which is a protein that gives a lot of flavor. So you don't really need to inject the dark meat, but you can if you want. What else? What other tips? Oh, one other really useful tip that I think is really a great thing. And by the way, I write about all of this on AmazingRibs.com and in that free ebook on turkey. And boy, I'll tell you, I wish you could see my screen. Hundreds of requests for this free ebook rolling in right now. Is I put a pan underneath the bird. Now, if you have a Weber Smoky Mountain that has a water pan, and you got to get it really good and clean, that'll work too. But I put a pan, a big metal pan underneath, and I put the neck and the gizzard, everything except the liver. Don't put the liver in that pan. I trim off all the excess fat from around both cavities. I snip the tips of the wings off, throw that in there, chop up an apple, throw some herbs, some of the rub, some celery, some carrots, either chicken stock or a bottle of wine or a little beer, or just plain old water. And basically what I do is I build a stock. It's a turkey soup, essentially, underneath the bird. And that wet surface collects smoke, and it gets the drippings from the bird. And you create this awesome stock, which it becomes your gravy. The bird gets up to around 145 or 150, and you pull that pan out, strain out all the solids, throw them away. They've given up all the good stuff. Taste it. If it's a little weak, put it in a big pot, cook it down, make it more concentrated. And I don't make a roux or a flour base to go to it, because that just thickens it. When you put that on the bird, it sits on top of the bird. This thin but flavorful stock will penetrate the meat, and it's just awesome. And if you do this, you'll almost certainly have a lot left over. And the day after Thanksgiving, I just heat it up in the microwave and drink it out of a coffee cup. It is just a great drink. So that stock, that gravy, is one of my ultimate secrets, and it's just awesome. Everybody will love it, I guarantee it. One more trick. I'm doing a monologue here, Steve. You can take a nap if you want. One more trick that I love to do, and that is I make the stuffing and I mix in some egg, and that's a binder. And now I put it in muffin pans. So we make muffins. They're stuffing muffins. And this way, everybody gets their own serving, a muffin made out of stuffing. And what's the best part of the muffin? The muffin top, right? Just ask Jerry Seinfeld. And it's really crispy. You get lots of, because people want that crispy stuffing. You get a muffin top that's really crispy, and it looks cool sitting on the plate next to the turkey and the cranberries and the beans and everything like that. and it's really easy to do. And the technique and the recipe for all that is on AmazingRibs.com and also in this ebook. So I think that is the bulk of my recommendations, suggestions, but I'm sure you got some questions.
All right, well, let's go through some of the comments. We got it was Mike Davis, as I suspected. He says 20 by 20, which is an inside joke for us, our Operation Barbecue Relief people from Hammond, Louisiana. He approves of the lightly smoked turkey. Greg wanted to know if you were heading down to the MBBQA conference in San Antonio this year.
Yeah, I plan to be there. I missed the last one or two. I used to go every year. Of course, COVID changed my travel plans, but I do plan to be there this year. And in fact, I'm giving a seminar on food photography. A lot of people who come to the National Barbecue Association are restaurateurs and caterers and competitors. And I actually did my master's in photography, and I'm working on a new book. And the photography is that I've really amped up my food photography. I did all the photography in my last book, and I give it a C+ or a B-, but the stuff I'm doing now is just gorgeous, and I'm really proud of it. And I'll give some tips for, not great art, but we'll talk a little bit about lighting, where to position the lights, what kind of cameras work. And boy, the new mobile phones are just fantastic. You don't need a single lens reflex, a DSLR from Nikon or Canon to get great food photography. But there's some tricks. And so I'll talk about that. I'll do a presentation on that at the NBBQA conference this year.
And then Joe Clark says, if you use cherry wood to smoke, it'll turn the skin very dark, and it'll look burnt almost. So it almost gets
I did not know that. Cherry often actually, not surprisingly, makes things like ribs slightly pink. I did not know that. I think a lot of it has to do with how much you use, and that's a matter of preference. I mean, do you prefer blondes, brunettes, or redheads? How much smoke do you like? How much salt do you like? Salt. You don't have to get a beer cooler and fill it with apple juice and salt and garlic and black pepper and submerge the bird in there, throw in an ice bag to keep it safe, and let it do this overnight or for a day or so. The molecules in all of those things are too large to penetrate. They will season the outside of the bird, but the only thing that will go in is salt. Always remember, salt is just sodium and chloride, 2 atoms. And when they get wet, they get ionized, and that means they can penetrate deep into the meat. And that's good because salt amplifies flavor and it denatures or alters the shape of protein so it holds on to moisture. You want salt. Not a lot. You don't have to worry if you're on a low salt diet. It won't be too much. So you do want a salt. And what you can do is you can do something called dry brining. And you don't need that whole big bucket of apple juice and stuff. Just take the bird, put it in a pan, and sprinkle it with salt and let it sit overnight. Even on the skin, the salt will penetrate and go into the meat. Let it go about 24 hours, and it'll penetrate deep, and you'll get a good, rich seasoning from that. Then you can spread whatever you want on the surface. All that other stuff in the bucket is just not going to penetrate. It'll just land on the surface. You're wasting money on apple juice and so on. So you don't need to wet brine. Dry brining works beautifully.
So we take that as you're a fan. Your vote is for dry brining over the wet brining.
Not just me. I've convinced the people over at Cooks Illustrated, Milk Street, the New York Times. They all now. I coined the term dry brine. The concept actually originated with a chef, Judy Rogers, in Berkeley. She did this with her chickens for years, and she was famous for her roast chicken. So she invented the concept, but I named it dry brining, and I've popularized it, and everybody's doing it now. Everybody understands that it works better than wet brining, and wet brining is just a pain in the butt.
So there's a lot of ways there's a lot of, and everybody's probably, they have their own arsenal of grills and stuff like that. But I mean, there's pellet grills. There's the like the Weber Bullet Grill. There's the water grills or what the smokers.
Mm-hmm.
There's you can do it on your kettle. Uh, there's that new Ninja thing that came out now, the electric smoker thingy that's smaller. I've seen that floating around. Um, do you have any tips for any one of them? I mean, they'll all basically do the same thing. Do you have one
Yeah.
preference over the other, or?
Well, it depends. All of them will work. The key, I
Mm-hmm,
think, is just don't go too smoky. And for me, I do it almost always on my pellet grill. It's pellet smokers produce a less intense, powerful flavor, and that's because the pellets burn very efficiently. So there's not a lot of smoke flavor on a pellet smoker. So I do it on the pellet smoker at about 325, 350. And personally, I now break the bird up into 8 pieces. I separate the 2 breast lobes. I separate the legs. And this way I can control the doneness of each piece. The breasts I want no higher than 160. I mean, anything higher than 160 is cardboard. The legs, though, they can go to as high as 170. In fact, they seem to like it up there. And because they're thinner, they take longer. So I know it's not as cool looking. My wife and I go to her brother's house every Thanksgiving, and he does the Norman Rockwell bird in the oven. And so they have the big
mm-hmm.
turkey there, and what I do is I do mine in pieces. When I'm done here, it's only about a 5-minute, 10-minute drive to his house. I throw it in a beer cooler to keep it warm, wrap them in foil and paper towels, and when I get there, I carve it up. And don't tell anyone, but mine goes first. Now, if you're doing it indoors,
yeah,
here's another hot tip. You've got that big, rich, beautiful, shiny Calphalon pan with a V-shaped rack. Throw
mm-hmm.
the rack away. What happens is now the bird is down below the sides. Those Calphalon pans have high sides, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
5-inch sides. Heat cannot get into the underside of the bird. Usually you put a little water in the bottom of that pan, otherwise the drippings burn. Well, what temperature is the water? 212. Basic rule, law of physics, is water cannot go higher than 212. It evaporates at 212, but you can't get water up to 250 or 275.
Right.
So if you've got the oven at, say, 350 or 400, the top of the bird is getting exposed to 350, 400 degrees, but the bottom of the bird is stuck down around 212, maybe a little higher because there's air between the water and the bird, maybe 250, 275. So you have a huge temperature differential between the bottom and the top. And that's why the underside of your bird is flabby and tan and mushy, while the top of the bird is beautiful golden. So what you want to do if you're cooking it indoors is get that V-shaped rack and just chuck it away or save it for on the grill. But put a wire rack on top of the pan, or better still, this is going to sound crazy, put your bird on the top rack of your oven, right on the rack, and
Mm-hmm.
put the pan underneath. Now air can circulate all around the bird, and the drippings can go into that pan. You can make that gravy that I talked about in that pan. And yes, you'll have a little extra cleanup on that rack because you'll get, bird drippings and grease on that top rack, but it's easy to clean off. And
Right.
that's the way to go. Get air underneath the bird, because don't forget, if you haven't discovered, there's 2 little muscles on the underside of the bird. And those little muscles, we call them the oysters. And
Mm-hmm.
they're actually, I think they're the pectoral muscles. And they're really good, really juicy. And it's important now, very important, key, when you're carving the bird, when no one's looking, you eat the oysters.
I get it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I've had it. That's actually great. All right, let's see. This Facebook user said he's been dry brining the last few years. He also says it did wonders for comp chicken too. So I mean, he uses it for his competition chicken as well
Yeah,
as
yeah,
just about anything, right? And poultry is poultry, so I'm assuming it would
yeah,
work for anything. Yeah, that's an interesting. I never even thought about that. I mean, you're just talking about that on the grill, that cold mass bubble one from the turkey, and then you got the water, which doesn't get very hot, so it's not it's going to cook at a hugely different rate. I
yeah.
would
On
think
my gas grill and my
if
pellet
you have it
grill,
sitting there.
the bird goes on the top rack and the pan goes on the bottom rack. And on
Yeah.
the gas grill, the bird goes on the rack, and then the pan goes under the rack, right on top of the heat deflectors on the burners.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. What is Greg says? It's not working, but it may pop up sooner or later. But he says to use use a full steamer rack.
I'm not sure what he means by a full steamer rack, but whatever, just a rack. I mean, you have these drying racks that you use for cookies, whatever. You just or you can just take the rack out of the oven and use that. You got to clean it up, but it's not hard to clean up. You just got turkey juices. It's not like they don't burn. I hope.
Right. We hope you look like the flames coming out of the oven thing.
Yeah, no, that's why we use the indirect side.
So do you have a preference on, so you got we went over to smokers. Do you have a preference of charcoal? Are you the lump charcoal, or are you briquette charcoal, or what do you think is the best for doing the smoking part of it? I mean, there's the snake method with briquettes, there's the offsets. If you had your choice, what do we choose?
For turkey, I tend to use my pellet. So for turkey, I tend to use the pellets because it's a very delicate flavor. But I have done it many times over charcoal. In general, and I know this is going to shock people, and they're going to hang up and go away, and they're going to think I'm an idiot. I prefer briquettes over lump, and I'll tell you why. Before you go, this guy's an effing idiot. I'm a control freak. Harry Sue, whom many of you may know about, is a champion cook out of California, and he just once put it perfectly. He said, charcoal is for heat, wood is for flavor. Lump charcoal, it has to be burned in a low oxygen atmosphere to turn it into carbon. And it has to be done properly, and it has to be done thoroughly. And a lot of times it's done in open pits, or closed pits rather, in Mexico. And if you've got big, thick chunks, and you know this, if you open a bag of lump, you can have big chunks the size of a softball or bigger, and little chunks the size of a fingernail. And sometimes those big chunks do not carbonize all the way through. And if you like them, you've seen snap, crackle, pop. You see sparks coming out of them. That's lignin and cellulose in the deep inside, and they will smoke, and they'll give you smoke. And you don't know the variety of wood that it is. It's just any old wood. It could be pine or cedar or something. So for me, I want briquettes. They're all uniform in size. I use a Weber charcoal chimney to start my fires. And I know a Weber charcoal chimney holds exactly 80 briquettes. And if I don't want that much heat, if I want half as much heat, I fill it halfway. That's 40 briquettes. So I have temperature control now. I with lump, I don't know how many lumps are fitting in that thing, how hot they're going to burn, what kind of uncarbonized wood is in there, about the sparking and other things. So I use briquettes. I wait until they are fully ashed over, which means they're fully ignited and they're at maximum heat. And then I can add more, and I know exactly how many to add. And when I want smoke flavor, I choose the wood of my preference.
And then what is your wood of preference? Chunks, chips, And as always, the
Chunks.
proverbial battle of the proverbial battle of, do you soak them beforehand or not soak them beforehand?
Oh, well, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. Do you know why they build boats out of wood? Because wood does not absorb water.
Right.
And we've done the test. There's a whole article on AmazingRibs.com, and I think I do some of it in my book. We took wood chips and we took wood chunks. We weighed them, soaked them overnight. Now, a lot of books just say soak them for an hour or two. We soaked them overnight and then shook off all the surface and, patted it dry and weighed them again. 3 to 5% weight gain. Then we started cutting them in half. Zero penetration. All the water is right there on the surface where the wood is a little fuzzy.
Right.
And there's no water on the interior. And that's because it's like a boat. It doesn't absorb water. Now, you got a charcoal fire. You get it up to 2 for you. All right, we're doing turkey. We'll say 325. You get it up to 325. Holding steady. Ready to put your bird on. What are you going to do? Throw wet wood on the charcoal. What's going to happen? Right. Boom, there goes your temperature. You're down to 250. But you say, wow, it's making lots of smoke. It's not smoke. It's steam. Water boils at 212. Wood burns over 500. Depends on the wood and depends on a variety of things. Let's say between 500 and 600. So you're not getting smoke until all the water boils off. It goes up to 212. Right. Boils off the water and holds at 212 until the water is boiled off. Then the wood starts to increase in temperature until pyrolysis, or it burns at 500 or so. So all that white stuff coming out there, go get a mirror, hold it over the exhaust. It's all steam. So there's no need to soak wood. In fact, soaking wood is deleterious to the process. Good gracious. I'm sorry. My email is in the background and there are hundreds of requests coming in from that email newsletter for the free ebook. So there you go, folks. I mean, hundreds.
That's a successful email blast.
Yeah. So no need to soak the wood. And what kind of wood? Now, some woods like hickory and what's the one that everybody uses in Texas?
Mesquite.
Thank you. Drew a blank there.
That's right.
They have very strong flavors. Most of the other woods have very mild flavors. I use nothing but apple. Nothing. I just standardized on apple. And I use only apple. I lied. Occasionally I'll throw some cherry or something on there, but the flavor of the wood is minor. I mean, when you go to competitions, they use the local wood. You go to Georgia, they're cooking with pecan or pecan, as they say.
Pecan, right.
Do not obsess over the wood. Find one source of wood that you like, that you trust, buy a load of it and stick with it. And now it becomes how much rather than what variety. There's not a huge difference in flavor between different woods. It's minor. You're building an orchestra here. You've got the flavor of the turkey. You have the flavor of the rub. You've got the injection of the butter. You've got the butter under the skin. You've got the flavors that the heat, the energy creates, and you have the smoke from the wood, and they all play together like musical instruments. The wood is just one of them, and it's not the most important, especially on turkey. You don't want too much. Go easy on the wood and don't obsess over which wood. Experiment, get one wood and stick with it for a year. And get everything under control. You got a lot of variables to control. Temperature, most difficult of all. Get all your other variables under control. Then, if you want, try a different wood.
Agreed. I agree with you. And then Greg says, have you ever done coconut charcoal in the open tubes, same size as throughout? So
in fact,
I'm not familiar with the coconut charcoal. But
it's an extract. They take coconut shells and carbonize them and then you get these long tubes. They got a hollow center, and I got some right out the back door. I could run and get it and show it to you, but and
that must be like the hog log.
they snap, they break pretty easily. Again, it's carbon, it's char. It doesn't. I don't think it has a significant flavor. The flavor is the meat, the rub, the sauce. Charcoal is for heat, wood is for flavor. Good motto to remember.
Going back to Joe's comment, where he was talking about the where the cherry wood can turn the skin very dark to it almost looks burnt. Have you ever heard of doing when the skin gets to a certain color that you like, actually putting a tent of foil or something like that over the top of the a tent of foil or something over the top of the turkey to kind of slow down the smoke entrance? Because I know that meat stops taking smoke in a while, but have you ever heard anything like that?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the meat doesn't stop taking smoke. There's no door that slams shut. That's a common myth. What happens is that there's a process called thermophoresis, and it's well known. Cold surfaces attract smoke particles. When you get out of the shower, what's the mirror look like? It's all fogged up.
Right.
Why? The mirror is cold, and those little particles of moisture in the air stick to it. Well, the same thing happens with your meats. When you take it out of the fridge and you put it on the smoker, it attracts smoke and it holds smoke. Tiny particles stick to cold surfaces, thermophoresis. As the meat heats up, it's no longer cold. So less smoke attaches to it. So it's not like it stops absorbing smoke. It stops attracting smoke. And that's another one. It doesn't really absorb anything. You'll get maybe a 1/4 inch of smoke ring. And that's because the nitric oxide hits the surface and it will dissolve and go into the meat just a little way. It doesn't go to the center. Take your turkey breast after you're done with that, slice it in half, and take a core sample. Taste it. Make sure the knife is clean and it hasn't rubbed down onto the surface when you slice. It tastes like turkey. It might have a little salt because salt penetrates, but it won't have any smoke. It won't have any rub. It won't have any other flavors. They just don't go beyond the surface. Now, what happens is when you chew it, now you're mixing those flavors in your mouth. You're masticating. And so what's on the surface and just below the surface will flavor the deep center parts by mixing it in your mouth. You're grinding it. So I don't, did I answer your question? I forget what your question was.
Yeah, you did. It was about tenting, whether to put tenting over there, if that'll stop
it. Well, that's another thing.
From coloring and coloring to that real dark, slow the coloring of the meat.
If you don't want it to take on more smoke or color, take the smoke out. I like chunks because chunks will burn and they'll burn for a while. Pellets and chips, you throw them on there and poof, they're gone. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's bad. I need a lot of smoke. In fact, the best tasting smoke comes from wood that burns with a flame. And that's pyrolysis, that's combustion. When the wood smolders, it creates funky flavors. So you don't want smoldering wood. So you put chunks right on the coals or on the gas jets and let it catch on fire. But if you want to stop the wood absorption or the wood flavoring, take it out. Pluck it out of there. Throw it in a wheelbarrow or a trash can or something and stop the smoke generation. If you're using charcoal that's fully lit, it doesn't make much smoke. Light a charcoal grill and watch what happens. In fact, Weber brought me up there to their plant and I did a whole video on the nature of smoke. Go to Amazing Ribs on YouTube and look for my video on smoke. It's about 20 minutes, but it's everything you ever wanted to know about smoke and how it behaves. And you can see We light charcoal, and it's belching smoke. That's what
Yeah.
happens when you're igniting charcoal. But after a few minutes, there's no more smoke. When
Right.
it's fully ignited, it doesn't create visible smoke. The particles are too small. They don't refract as much light. So you can take the wood out of there, and that will cut back on that. But tenting it, what happens when you tent it with
Mm-hmm.
foil? Humidity from the meat. Remember, meat is
Right.
75% water. So
Yep.
humidity from the
Just to
meat
capture
is
meat.
captured under the tent. And what happens
Yeah.
next? Your skin gets soggy. And
Dude,
I like crispy skin. So
I
don't
do
tent the
too.
meat. And there's no need to rest it, for crying out loud. All the tests have shown that um, you do have a slightly greater fluid loss when you cut into the meat immediately. But within
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, that stops almost. You're still going to get fluid loss, but much less. Only takes 5 minutes. By the time you bring the bird inside, show it to everybody, slice it, all the juices that come out. What do you do with those juices? They're not lost. You dump them right back on the meat, and they soak back into the meat. So
Right.
bring the bird in. Don't tent it. Let it get cold, for Christ's sake. Nobody wants to eat cold turkey. Um, uh, Dump the juices back on top, and you've got that gravy that I've told you about. Oh my, that's good. If you want, dump the juices into the gravy. But just get that bird inside with crispy skin, carve it up, and serve it.
Well, I got a question for you too. You're talking about the rubs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk as I come way over here onto the wall. Um, let's talk about binders. Do you recommend using duck fat as a spray? Spray your turkey with duck fat and then
You
use
know,
that
I
as the
bought some
binder,
from you.
or
I haven't got around to using it. Um, Duck fat is a very nice, flavorful fat. I think bacon fat's better, but duck fat's really good. And of course, the French have been doing confit, which is
Mhm.
simmering in duck fat for years and years and years. Um, the idea of a binder which will hold the rub on. A lot of people use um, mustard or mayonnaise is in fashion, and that's something that I helped popularize for fish. Um, but I've never really felt a need for a binder. The surface of the animal is usually damp enough. On some meats, I will just wet my hands, like ribs. I'll just go over the sink, wet my hands, and pat it on the meat,
Mhm.
and water is enough. I mean, most of the compounds in your rubs are water soluble. In fact, I have a really interesting article on AmazingRibs.com, and I think it's in my book also, where I demonstrate that the flavors are more soluble in water than they are in oil. So duck fat is oil. If you want to dissolve the flavors, water works just as well or better. Alcohol is very effective, but I don't know. I don't think you want to put alcohol because that dehydrates the meat. That dries out the meat. So I just use water. Duck fat is exceedingly good on potatoes. If you want to do smashed potatoes, get yourself those baby Yukon Golds and
Mhm.
spray them with duck fat. Pop them in the grill or the smoker. Get them up to 210 or just below the boiling point. 210, 208 is when they're most tender and creamy. Then you can smash them, spray them again with duck fat, and put them in a cast iron pan with some oil to crisp them and brown them. Oh boy.
Now you're talking. Well, that's the other. You don't have to just smoke the turkey. You can smoke you can smoke your stuffing and everything else. They would think if you put it in a pan, or even especially if you did it your muffin. I really like
Yeah.
that muffin way. I think that's. I got to get some. I might do that this year just to have a snack.
Check the recipe on my site. There are a couple of tricks. And you want to add egg to act as a binder. Regular loose stuffing is too crumbly and it doesn't hold together in
Mhm.
the muffin shape. So you want a little binder in there. I forget if there's some other tricks there. Just go to AmazingRibs.com and look up the recipe for stuffing muffins.
Well, it was I think a great show. I mean, like I showed everybody, like Meathead said, this email is out there today. Um, oops, this isn't the front page, but that's all right. But here's the page that shows to get the free cookbook. But sign up for his emails. I mean, you got grilled Brussels sprouts, for dinner, cranberry sauce.
Oh, the cranberries
So
are
you get a lot
fun.
of information. Yeah.
I use dried cranberries. They're craisins, they call them, cranberry raisins. Yeah. And I'll take them and put them in a saucepan and cover them with port wine. And you can use cheap port wine. You can use Gallo or Taylor. You don't have to go and get an expensive vintage port. And some orange zest, and just simmer them for a while. And what happens is those raisins rehydrate with the wine. And they are good. I call them drunken cranberries. They are really good. The wine is sweet. The cranberries are really tasty that way.
Well, I don't think we have any more comments. I'll let you get back to your day. I'm going to get back to my day off and enjoy the beautiful sunshine that's out there today. And if anybody has any questions or anything further for Meathead, obviously you can always go to AmazingRibs.com and you can reach out to him, and he's always willing to answer questions. And then you do, as always, I like to bring up that you also do your fireside chats. I don't know when it is this year or this month, because it's usually the last Thursday, but is that
we moved them to Wednesday. We moved them to Wednesday because the idiots at the NFL schedule football games on Thursday, and double idiots, they've been scheduling the lousy Bears on Thursday. And as bad as they are, I still have to watch them on Thursdays. So we moved my fireside chat. We do this. We do what Steve and I are doing now. I'll usually pick a topic. I'll talk about it for 10 or 15 minutes and then answer questions. So it's the last Wednesday of every month on YouTube and Facebook. Amazing Ribs is the Facebook /Amazing Ribs, YouTube /Amazing Ribs. You'll find me there, and I take on all questions. Occasionally I have a guest, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I look forward to it, and we get some good questions. And every page on our website has a place to ask a question. And we have paid moderators. These are not volunteers who are basking in the glory of being a moderator. It's a job for them, and they take it seriously. And I also answer questions. So bring it.
And then if you are not a computer person and you don't want to do computer person, Meathead does have his, as I take my little post-it note off here. This is probably one of the only books I carry here, if not the only book. I know I got Myra Mixon's over there for other reasons, but this is one of the few books I carry.
Just because what did that post-it note say?
Well, that post-it note says that it's a signed copy, because all the ones here at Wannamakers, as you can kind of see, there it is. There's Meathead's lovely signature. I did not do that myself. That is Meathead's. I take them over to his house and drop them off when they come in, and he signs them all up. But the great thing about this is it does have recipes in it. But more importantly, it goes over pretty much a lot of the stuff we were talking a little bit about today, but in a lot more depth. The science behind everything that goes on while you're cooking, and some myths and some other stuff like Meathead brought up today with the chips and the chunks that you have to soak all those. And then you can also come in, and I think I'm out of I did order the poultry one. I'm out of the poultry one, which hopefully it'll come in before the weekend. Yeah. But Meathead does have his 3 rubs. And then he also has this great, wonderful, with his beautiful face on all of them, the Kansas City barbecue sauce. So come on in and get some stuff from Meathead. We won't have a Christmas show this year. Meathead is going to work on his book, so we won't do the Christmas show.
We'll have a Christmas show, but it just won't be with me.
It won't have Meathead in it. We'll do a Christmas show.
I gotta beg forgiveness. I've been his Christmas guest. I come into the store and we walk around, and I show my favorite things. And although it aggravates Steve, I tell people this is a piece of crap, don't buy it. And I tell people this is a great thing, buy it. It's a lot of fun, but I am way behind deadline on my book, like 3 years behind deadline.
I was
And
gonna
I've got
say.
to make a March 1st deadline. And I made I swore an oath that I'm just going to start saying no to everybody who wants my time. You know how bad that is, people out there. People are always inviting you to do things. And I love meeting the public and answering questions and helping people. But I got to get the book done or they'll hang me. So, Steve, you'll
But
forgive me, I hope.
I
But
forgive
I
you.
do
I
like
forgive
coming
you.
in there, and you've run your annual summer event, and I come into the store for that and watch his newsletters, and I'd love to meet you guys face to face.
So maybe not this year, but as always, Meathead will continue working with him to make sure that we can, when he's available, we can continue to do the monthly shows here on live from the barbecue department at Wannamakers, because that doesn't take as long and it's not as much of a time commitment as far as driving all the way out here and all that other good
Yeah,
stuff.
and
But
if
we'll
there
see.
are listeners here who've never been there, it's just bloody amazing how much cool stuff Steve has packed into that little tiny space.
Yeah.
Wannamakers is a really cool store. It's one of my wife's favorite. My wife is a master gardener, and she loves going there. It's just they've got everything you need for your garden, your yard, and picnic tables, chairs, and stuff. And Steve has managed to commandeer a corner of the store, and it kind of gets a little bigger and a little bigger every year. Um, but it's a little space and it's just full of, well, look behind him there. I mean, it's got every
Yeah.
bloody rub and sauce known. Steve, why don't you use that for something more productive and profitable? Get rid of all of those rubs and sauces. You just need mine.
Yeah, right. Well, it would make it, yeah, right, because the selection would be narrowed down and yeah, yeah. So, all right, my friend, thank you as always for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on there. We'll get you on. Maybe we'll just do a live in December. We'll see. Maybe I can talk him
Well,
into
we
doing
could
that.
do that. All right, here you go. Instead of me coming, because the reason I'm getting jealous of my time is got to drive out there. I got to hook
Exactly.
up the computer. I got to have a camera that's mobile like you have. Why don't we do it where I'm here and you'll wander around and do you have a camera that's mobile?
Yeah, I can move I use
So
my phone so we
bring your
can watch.
and then we can go over to the spatulas
Yeah,
and look at them, and I can tell you which ones so we could do it remotely. Let's try that.
let's try that. Well, we'll pencil that as that's what we're going to do. Meathead and I will pick a day
Yeah,
because it's easier. It takes a less time for commitment out of his day.
yeah.
It's my day off, so
I
I
can't
have no
believe you come
commitment.
in on your day off.
I can't. It's just this is the fun part of the whole thing is doing this. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to go run and get gas, and I got some other things I got to get. So it kind of fits my path that I have carved out for the day. So I always
I'm
carve it out.
after this. I'm going to a webinar on Japanese cooking.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. Oh, my wife and I went to Japan a few years ago, and oh gosh, they just worship food over there. And their cooking, I just absolutely adore it. And I've adapted a number of Japanese recipes from my new book. There's a lot of international flavors in the new book, and a lot of fun things. So I'm hoping to pick up some more tips today.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Meathead, thank you very much. We will talk. We will chat, and we'll see if we can figure out a day, and then we still will have a Christmas show, but just not as in person as before. But
There you go.
have a great day and enjoy it, and get to work on that book.
Thank you. Take care. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. If I can get you. Oh, there we go. Wouldn't let me get Meathead off the screen. So again, big thank you out to Meathead for coming on the show. I always appreciate the fact that he takes time out for my customers that come on and sign on here at Wannamakers. We try to give the best grilling experience you can possibly have, and he helps to make that experience even better. And as I said, please try to get to AmazingRibs.com and check out his website if you haven't seen it. Sign up for his Pitmaster Club. Sign up for his emails. It is a great website. You do get a lot of consumer knowledge, recipes. The nice thing about it is he's not supported by anybody. He's supported by what he makes off of his Pitmaster Club. So he's not partial to one brand or the other. Everything you get on there is honest opinions from testing, product testing, and all the other good stuff. So if you get a chance, get yourself on there to check his thing out. Joe Clark says he's got to make a trip down here from Wisconsin. Come on in. You're always welcome. Everybody's always welcome. We're conveniently located in the armpit of 355 and I-88 here in the lovely town of Downers Grove. Love to have anybody come in. And then Ryan here, my good friend, my co-host of the Thursday Night Barbecue Chat, wishes me to say happy birthday. Thank you very much. And Greg, thank you very much for all you do. I know you do a lot with barbecue relief. You helped me dramatically when we were down there in Port Charlotte. It's always good to see you on here at this time. And I do hope you watch the Thursday night shows. I know you watch Mark Lambert's, but hopefully you watch mine on the rewind. And he says happy birthday as well. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for signed on. Here at Wannamakers, we are in full Christmas mode. We have the Christmas trees going. We got the ornaments are all up in here as well. And live Christmas tree should be coming in, I think, by the end of the week. So we should be fully ready to go for you to come in and do your Christmas shopping experience. And then come in and do if you got a griller on your list, come on in, and got tons of things that we can get for gifts. Obviously, we got the wall here behind me. You can see it. I'm really bad at it. Ryan knows I'm really bad at it. But you got the wall behind me. You got tons of accessories to the side. We still have grills. We got everything you need. Check some of the things. I know that Traeger, I think, is getting ready to launch their Black Friday event. So make sure you kind of pay attention to that. Ryan also wants to set for my birthday. I did set up on Facebook a donate to Operation Barbecue Relief, which is right up here, which is my charity of choice. I do a lot of volunteering with them. As far as events here at these, if you're looking for some other kind of neat gift ideas, we also do have coming up. They are up on the Wannamakers.com. They are also on Wannamakers Home and Gardens Facebook page. I have too many on the Barbecue and Smoke Supply, but there is our class list. They are all full and activated. Brisket class on January. Pork and ribs will be in February, and then grilling is in March. These are great gift ideas, especially if you have somebody with the guy that has grilling. It has all the things grilling you can think of. This is a great addition to that. Let's see, Ryan brought out this Friday. What's this Friday, Ryan? This Friday. I don't know what's Ryan saying. Oh, who is the handsome? Oh, I think there's one at Tischler's this Friday. I think is what he was talking about. But yes, if anybody wants to see this year, a new edition, we got Ryan here. He's going to come in and he's going to do a griddle part. So we're going to get griddling into our barbecue classes. So this way we're covering. So we can do the smoking, we can do the smoking, we can do the grilling, and then we got the griddles involved and everything. So keep that in mind. With that, I am going to head out for the day. Today is my day off. We're going to go now to get some gas and get some things at the grocery store. If you choose and want to see more of our show, head Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. I do a show on It's All About the Barbecue called the Thursday Night Barbecue Chat. This week we'll have Sterling Smith from Loot and Booty. He will be on, and we've talked that. If you haven't had a chance to see last Thursday night show, please try to go to It's All About the Barbecue and look that up. We interviewed David from Butcher's and Butcher's Barbecue, and it was absolutely incredible. David is just a wonderful person. We're going to get a whole bunch of different products coming in from David, so that'll be fantastic. So with that, I am out. Everybody have a great day. A little bit over an hour today, which is kind of long, but it's Meathead. Sometimes we get into longer conversations. So next week, I will have on this show to continue the talk about barbecue and turkey. We will have Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe will be on here to, again, talk turkey. That will be a couple days before Thanksgiving. And I love Thanksgiving. Who doesn't like Thanksgiving with all that food? I do. I love it. So everybody have a great day. And as always, please be kind, courteous to all your retail service and industry workers. They are doing the best they can with what they have. And remember, it's our differences that which makes us great. So let's be a little more tolerant of those who are different than us. Because after all, who would want to live in a society where we were all the same? So have a great day and enjoy the sunshine. If you're in Chicago anyway. Bye-bye.